get warmed up for another episode of We Run This. In this episode, we're talking to actor and athlete Aaron Schwartz. Aaron probably looks familiar to people of a certain age because, well, at one point in the 90s, Aaron made a career out of playing the lovable, chubby kid in blockbuster movies like The Mighty Ducks and Heavyweights, and on TV shows like The Adventures of Pete and Pete. Schwartz continues to act, but has undergone quite the transformation, going from fat to fit over the course of his adolescent and adult years. Aaron is now using his personal experiences to help motivate others who struggle with some of the issues he did as a kid. In this candid interview, Aaron talks about getting roles because of being overweight, struggling with his weight at an early age, the day he decided to take his health seriously, he gives some training tips, and Aaron even makes a special announcement about his next physical challenge. So let's jump right into the conversation and meet actor and athlete Aaron Schwartz.
To the We Run This podcast, guys. With me, as always, Chris Illuminati. I am Nick Domingo. Chris, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man, but I just want to, I know you have a problem with this. I have the problem too. You said guys. There's girls that listen.
That's true. I say guys collectively, universally, guys.
I do that. I do that too, but I want to include the ladies. So everyone listening, I just want to put you on blast for a second, Nick, for saying guys.
No, dude, I appreciate it. I need to be put in check every so often, and I think it's appropriate. So,
but to ask you a nice question, I'm doing fine.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I'm definitely glad to hear it. Wanted to see how many times have you run this week? You've gotten out there.
I'm running tonight, and I ran one other time, so twice. I've been lifting a lot. So
yeah, I've been doing the bike thing, getting back into running. Slowly. So, it's good. Speaking of, we've got a guy, lifter, biker, runner, all around kind of workout junkie. Actor. Probably should be the first. Aaron Schwartz, my dude. What's going on, man?
What's up, man? Biker. I need to start riding a bike.
I lied to our entire audience.
Biker.
Are you going to be a literal biker? Like, you're going to buy a motorcycle, or will you just go with?
I actually just got my motorcycle license.
You're a biker. See, he was not wrong.
Not a biker. I like that. I stall every 5 seconds. Like, if somebody saw me on the road right now on a bike, they'd be like, "Get off the road." So no.
Is it really that hard?
It's a little. I mean, I drove stick when I was younger, so it's not hard to do the clutch thing. It's a different. You're on two wheels and you're on a death machine, a death machine without a cage, pretty much. So I think it's just more nerve wracking. I'm just always nervous when I get on those things, but it's also really, really fun.
So I have a question about that, because you're saying it's a death machine. Like, what makes you want to get on it? Because I would love a motorcycle, but like you said, it's a death machine.
You're right. I have this weird, I have this weird little war going on in my head. I don't know if I'm ever going to buy a bike, or if I do, I'm definitely not ever going to ride it on a highway in LA at least, or New York, or any big city. If I do own a bike, I'll probably take it to some rural area, and it's a luxury item, honestly. It's not I'm not getting it as a transportation method. A lot of people use it out here in LA because it's cheaper, insurance is cheap, and LA's overhead is ridiculous. So you can white line here, you can go in between traffic. So all those crazy, can I curse on this?
Sure.
Yeah, you can curse.
Fuckers, all those guys. I see them on the highway and I'm like, you guys are insane. So I'm not really a bad boy. I just I pretend to be one sometimes.
You play one on TV.
Exactly. I'm really scared inside all the time. Yeah.
I've always wanted to get a bike, but my thing is always I trust me, I don't trust everybody else. So how do you get past that?
Yes, 100%. Or I trust what I know, I trust, but yeah, it's on the road. There's a million times where I'm turning into a lane and somehow somebody's speeding up and turning at the same time, and we end up like turning into each other's blind spots. That happens like on a daily basis, and I'm like all cautious of that. What happens if you do that on a motorcycle? I mean, your motorcycle, you have a helmet, so you don't have like peripheral that you normally have. Getting all scientific on this, but yeah. So honestly, it's scary as hell, and there's a lot of when you get your license, they actually give you a lot of information on like accidents and who 80% of the accidents are caused by somebody else, and you only survive 30% of actual accidents or 40% on motorcycles, and 20% of those accidents end up in all in bodily injuries. And it's like, yeah, it's not it's something that I would normally venture to do, but it's I got on a motorcycle one time and I was like, I want to do this. Maybe the pandemic.
Well, I think you just gave the shout out to the PSA of why not to ride a motorcycle or do so once your experience.
Yeah, that's what they do when they teach you. They're like, okay, before you get on this motorcycle, just know you will die if you make any mistakes. and everybody's like, cool. That people just.
We will follow that one rule. Good to know.
Yeah, you probably will die if you stay on the motorcycle long enough, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I know, you and I have known each other for a couple of years.
Yeah.
The name Aaron Schwartz probably is familiar with some people. Your past playing Carp on the Mighty Ducks in the original one, playing Jerry from, Heavyweights, which two cult classics. Yeah. I'm always interested to talk to you, dude, because it's so cool to see your journey, hear about your journey, go through the mental side of things and how you've kind of grown up. But still stayed in touch with a lot of those guys. So can you kind of talk to us a little bit about, your past, your history, what it was like to be a child actor, which is just, it's weird to think about.
Sure. Yeah. It's surreal, actually. I mean, I'm doing a documentary right now about child actors. It's not about child actors, because that's like kind of a blanket statement, but it's about a lot of the negative things that are attached to child actors, and whether, the idea of child actors, and whether they're, factual, or if they're, just something that's like socially constructed, like what is the reason that happened. So like, as I started like going and doing this, I looked back on a lot of stuff, and it's a surreal idea to say that I was a child actor, and that like stuff I was in, like my face will be on celluloid history, like I think about that. The piece of me goes, fuck, that's amazing, and another piece, like, it feels like a different life. It definitely dictated how I react to things now. My like, emotional presence when I'm talking to somebody, how I've grown as an adult, or how I've not grown as an adult. There's moments, I'm not saying we're all kind of like little kids when we get older, we hit 35, 40, and we're like, oh shit. Okay. I thought it was completely different. I watched these adults being adults, and they were just really kids pretending to be adults, I felt like, So, but I think it's even more so with child actors or former child actors. Of course, it's depending on everybody's, story, but I think that happens a lot. Like, I think you look back and you just kind of like, your growth is somewhat stunted in certain areas, and then your growth is in other areas. Your maturity is just accelerated to the nth degree, because you're a working actor at 10, 7, 6, I was watching another documentary about child actors done by Alex Winter from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and it was really interesting. He talks about, they all talk about like how, I was doing my taxes at 7, and like, or at 8, and it's like such a weird thing. Like, you are a product and a commodity, and I think when you look at it in that way, it can really fuck with you. You can really look back on it and go, shit, was I really that, like, I just wanted to do what I loved, but there were people who didn't do what they loved. They did what their parents loved, and then they were unfortunately put into this like wash cycle of being a business, being a conglomerate of some sort for their parents. It was really, it's when you look back on it, it can be a messed up idea. But I personally am like a fan of, little kids doing what they want to do. And, as long as they're, treated properly and they're put in their place, which I was. So I think there was a lot that had to do with how I grew up in the business. I was grounded a little more. I grew up in New York City, not in Hollywood. I'd come here to film and to do stuff. So was I like a Hollywood actor, child like star as I was a kid? Like, yeah, like by name I was, but I was really a New Yorker growing up in a big city, taking the trains, taking the buses, and, kind of having a normal-ish childhood. It wasn't anywhere near normal. Like I was going to school with Macaulay Culkin and Christina Ricci, and I was, half the time I was on set and having tutors. So, I mean, it definitely was not normal. And, I don't realize it until I talk about it. And I go, fuck, I don't know. I only know my reality. So, but I think it helped me. Personally, I think it helped me. And I'm like grateful for every day I had as a kid. It was fun. It was like, getting paid and like going to Disneyland every day is what it felt like,
Let's talk about, Nick, you got something?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Let's talk about how, so, I mean, obviously in a movie like Heavyweights, some of the movies you were, I don't want to say typecast, but, you were a heavier kid. So you got these roles because you were heavier. How did that affect your psyche? Like, did you know that's why you were getting chosen? Like, okay. So how does that, so basically, how does that affect you as a kid? Like, I know I'm getting these roles because I'm a heavier kid. Did that make you not want to be a heavier kid? Did that make you go, okay, well, I can do whatever I want because they're okay with it? Like, how does that work?
I've had that question asked to me before, and like I immediately go into this response of like, I was happy. It didn't really bother me. And like I look back and I'm trying to like be completely like, transparent about that. I think there was definitely subconscious stuff going on where I was like, God, like I'm like people like I'm disgusting, sometimes I would think like, oh my God, when you're if you're going to call it a disability, which I'm sure like we're so PC now that we can't even call being unhealthily overweight and a problem, but it is, I luckily was not ever to the point where I was like obese, but I gained a lot of weight when I was a kid. And, I look back on why I gained a lot of weight, and there was some like, family trauma happening. There was divorce in my family, and like I ended up, just eating a lot. And I realized that there are a lot of people genetically who are, going to be chubby or whatever, but they're not going to be fat. And they kind of like, it comes out of some sort of pain or trauma. And not to get like too deep, but I think that might've been one of the reasons I got to that place. So when I booked the Mighty Ducks, I was a little chubby kid, but I wasn't really fat. I was still pretty like normal size. I was a little chubby cheeked. And then when Heavyweights came, that's where that like transformation, like a year or two before, I started gaining that weight, like right after the Mighty Ducks, gaining weight. And I loved the fact that I was able to bank off of it. I mean, I didn't think of it as being banking at the time. I didn't think about the money. Like when I was told how much I was going to make, as a kid, when I look back, I wasn't like, we could get more. Can we get more? Or I didn't think that way. I was like, great, whatever it was, like $1,000 a week, I'll take it. $10,000 a week, I'll take it. I don't care. So I was happy to, I was obsessed with acting since I was like 5 or 6 years old. And it's been like, at the time it wasn't about the art, but it started growing at that time about like the art of it. And I would watch people and I would ask, how did they start crying at that moment? Let's figure this out. And I would take class. I was like 10 years old taking Strasberg Institute classes, like I was like obsessed with it. So any chance I had to actually act, and it was through, if it was through being fat, like I was like, I'll take it. So to answer your question, a long-winded answer, I loved taking advantage of the fact that I was that big. And, I did not want to be that big the whole time. I felt embarrassed getting in a pool without a shirt. I, didn't think the girls were looking at me and they were looking at the skinnier dudes, They were the camp MVPers of real life where they were, a bunch of dicks. And, I was, wasn't crazy. I wasn't made fun of a lot in school at the time because I was luckily in a school for child actors or for performers in any case. And there were a lot of different, eclectic group of kids. And so they would get shamed immediately if somebody like made fun of, but they did it. The people made fun of you. You would get called fatty in the street sometimes and stuff like that. So it definitely hurt. And I obviously wanted to change it. And I did. When I was like 16, I was like, I gotta get laid. I gotta get more attention, Yeah. So,
Well, you segued right into the next question, which is just, again, you and I have spoken about this a lot, like over the years and in a bunch of interviews and just, chatting in general. And, what made you make that change outside of obviously wanting to get laid as a teenager? But now, anyone who goes to your Instagram over the past few years can see, you're jacked, bro. And like, you're in shape. You've made a commitment to fitness and getting yourself healthy. So where was that turning point where you said, I'm not just going to be this little chubby kid anymore and be typecast this way, and I'm going to change into what you are now?
It was a slow progression. It wasn't really one moment. I think I remember like I went to Israel. So there's a big like stop. I think a lot of the reason, a lot of the good things happened to me as I got older and there was a little more normalcy in my life is because I kind of took a break from the business. And I didn't even realize I was taking a break from the business or why I was doing it. And when I look back, I realized like subconsciously, I knew there was danger ahead. Maybe looking back on it, obviously, if I didn't take that break, maybe right now I would be, making millions of dollars and, that there's a possibility of that, but I think it was the healthiest move I made. And my subconscious kind of like kicked in and went like, get away. Like you need to get away from this for a minute. So I went out to Israel, visited my brother who was learning out there. I went and hung out there for way longer than I should have as at a 16-year-old, hanging out at bars because, in Israel at the time, if your head could reach above the bar, you were getting a drink kind of thing, So I, had a little fun out there as a 16-year-old, but I also got away from the non-normal childhood or young adult life and kind of moved to the normal zone of things. So I think when I did that really helped a lot of my. What was the question that you asked? I'm sorry.
How did your journey?
Yeah, like how did you? Yeah.
I just got lost. So I think taking a step away from everything really helped me realize a lot of things. And I think when I was about 16, 17, I also, wanted to get laid. I saw girls, Israeli girls. Oh my God, I was like, I'll never get that, And so I started thinking about that at first. It was definitely first a very vain, journey I was trying to take. And then it turned into being healthy. At 18, my father was vegetarian most of my life. At 18, I decided to become vegetarian again. I was vegetarian until I was 10. And I did that. And I'm not a vegetarian and I'm not let me throw my veganism on you. But I think that was my first inclination of starting to change and worry about my health. I had other friends who were still heavy set and they were not doing well. They were, I have friends now who have diabetes and they started getting diabetes when they were in their early 20s. And I didn't, I liked life. I liked feeling healthy. I liked, and I, since I was 6 or 7 years old, I was kind of obsessed with doing things that I wanted. I was like a hustler, at 7 years old, I wanted to be in movies and I'd do anything to make that happen. Well, almost anything to make that happen. And you know, I would stop actors in the street and ask them about, you know, how they got there. You know, I stopped Michael Keaton and Anthony LaPaglia on the street doing One Good Cop back in the, you know, late 80s. And right after he finished Batman, I was like, it's Batman over there, you know. And I would ask them, you know, how they did it. They, you know, wrote me a list of, you know, how to do it, and I followed the list. And so I was that kind of person throughout my life. So when I hit 16, 17, and I thought, okay, let's get healthy, I did it to like the 10,000th degree. You know, I was like, let's get healthy, let's work out, you know. So
What type of exercise or fitness stuff did you gravitate towards first?
I didn't know what I was doing. So I just, I don't know. I went started lifting things, you know, and then, you know, slowly I would ask people, or in the beginning I would pretend like I knew what I was doing, you know, I was acting it out. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do these tries today. And, you know, but,
so you were method acting at the gym is what you're doing.
I've method acting throughout my life. Everybody, I mean,
kind of to a point.
Yeah.
And how did you get into running?
That was just like therapy for me. You know, I think that also helped me get skinny, because I was like, okay, I need to do cardio, and like, cardio, let me do cardio. And then I started like running on the treadmill and doing all this elliptical shit, and I was like, this is like exhausting and boring. I want to pull my hair out. And then I was like, let me just run outside a little bit. Maybe that'll be easier. And it wasn't easier, but it did like give me some sort of balance. You know, it was almost meditative. Like you can kind of close your eyes a little bit, like half close your eyes and focus on your breathing. And then you just kind of stay at this pace, and it becomes this like meditative venture instead of just an exercise. And I think that helped, you know, kind of like settle me down and also keep me fit.
So you did the LA Marathon, right? Like last year, a couple years ago?
Yeah. I did the New York Marathon back in like 2012 or 13, I think it was. One of those years. It was the year after they canceled the marathon because of some big, huge storm that New York had at the time. And then I came here, and I did the marathon last year, and it was right before the pandemic. It was not easy. I'm 39, and I just don't think I trained enough for it. And I'm not a long distance runner anymore. I was back in the day, like that was 7 years ago. And I went with my friend, and I was like, okay, I'm going to make the 4-hour time limit. I just barely missed it. You know, when I was 23, I did like 350. And so it did not go well. I was nauseous for like a good 3 hours after, because I was pushing too hard.
How do they compare? I don't think we've talked to anybody that's done New York and
that's the point.
LA. Yeah. How are they different? How are they same?
I think,
or is it just running? Is it all just running?
All just running.
Yeah.
I mean, in my mind, I want to say it really is all just running and just, you know, blocking out all the pain. Pretty much. But running and just don't stop. It's like it gets to a point where there's whatever you train, whatever you've done. I don't care if you're a marathon. I mean, there's guys who can run like, you know, for 3 days straight, and those guys are just ridiculous human beings. But you know, for most normal people, even if you're a trained marathon runner, even the people that finish in 2 hours, they at one point have to put in their head, don't stop. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. You don't think about anything else. Just like you cannot stop. So it's fucking hard. Hard. It's LA Marathon on paper seems like the coolest marathon to do, as opposed to New York, because it's just beautiful. Or at least for me, because it's just beautiful. It's palm trees. You end on the beach. It's wonderful. For some reason, it was so much harder for me than the New York Marathon. Maybe it was the heat, because New York Marathon is in November and it starts off really cold, but then it gets like really nice out. And I don't know, like 65, 70 degrees, which is like perfect running weather. LA Marathon, man, I was cramping. I was like, it was rough. It was rough. Yeah, it was a hustle.
Is it also the fact that like at the LA Marathon, you could literally stop at any moment and be in your house in like 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
Yeah. Although no, because your car's parked in the freaking Santa Monica lot.
Okay.
And it's on marathon day, so the whole place is blocked off. So it takes you 4 hours to get home, actually. But
okay.
yeah, ideally you could probably hop on a bike and be home in 10 minutes. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So how often are you running now? I mean, are you still getting in a couple miles a week? I know you said you weren't doing long distances, but you still trying to pound the pavement a little bit?
This is going to be a public announcement. I haven't told anybody. I'm running the Austin Marathon.
Nice.
In a couple.
Dude, that's awesome.
4 months. Yeah. So I have not been running, to answer your question, at all.
Okay, when do you plan to start?
Go backwards.
Yeah,
I've been running a shit ton for this, but you did it backwards.
No, I did not. I've been reading and watching TV a lot, so I should probably rethink my days now. It's coming up pretty soon, yeah.
So let me ask, did putting it out there now make it real for you, and now you have to seriously start training?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I've been hesitant to put it out there because I knew that I'd have to be accountable for it. So yeah.
That's definitely going to be the headline now. Now I'm going to hold you up to it.
Yeah, right. Interview with Aaron Schwartz, running the Austin City Marathon. Here's the dates.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, this will be his number. You could yell shit at him.
The first step is admitting it.
What's that?
The first step is admitting it. So now that you've admitted it, this will push you. Right?
I'm going to continue doing this marathon as a 12-step program. I'm apologizing people, fill up runs. Yeah, it's going to be great. So yeah.
So why Austin?
So I've been starting to run again, but I ran 4 miles the other day and it did not feel good. So I have to get back into it. But I'm going to Mike Tyson this up.
Yeah. Nick,
make the marathon my Roy Jones Jr.
Nick had a good question. Why Austin? Is it just because that's the most recent one, or?
There's a couple reasons. My friend Jake, who I ran with last year, is asked me like, "Hey, do you want to, the Austin Marathon's coming up, like 4 or 5 months. You want to run it?" And like for some reason, anytime like Jake and I like say we want to do something, we're like, "Yeah, let's just do it. Yeah, let's do it." And so it was kind of like a on the whim thing that I just was like, I don't know, I'm about to be 40.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be 40, I think, when the marathon happens. So shit. Yeah. I was like, let's just do it. This is my buying like a small little sports car moment, I think maybe. And Joe Rogan lives in Austin. I'm a huge fan of Joe Rogan. Mm-hmm. And he moved to Austin. Another friend of mine moved to Austin. And my friend Jake moved to Austin. And I was like, well, the next step, I did New York, I did LA. Let's do Austin. Mm-hmm. That was not a lot of thought behind it, honestly.
Nice.
So I have a question unrelated to running, but I've always wanted to ask you this. Actually, you got to tell us like a story like that you probably have never told anyone about being on set with Stiller for heavyweights, or like Estevez on the Mighty Ducks, like. I just feel like even now, I'm 36, like a 10-year-old kid being in your position to be in those movies had to be fucking incredible. It's like summer camp every day. Like you have to have some crazy stories that are just like, dude, you wouldn't imagine this happened.
I'm trying to think of, I've like had that question asked a lot. And so I always like tell stories, but I'm trying to think of something that like, things that I haven't told are probably not going to be like, hey, fun stories. They're probably going to be like, oh, fuck stories. But
well, the fact that you ran up to Michael Keaton on the street and he gave you a list of things to do for acting is pretty amazing. He literally sat there and listed them.
Well, it was Anthony LaPaglia, but Michael Keaton.
Oh, okay. Well, Mikey was there. Okay.
I sometimes will say like Michael Keaton did. Yeah. And that might be a little stretch.
But still, either of them, like they're filming a movie. And you stopped and you're like, he's like, here, kid, and wrote something down.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I actually saw Anthony LaPaglia the next year after I booked it was like 3 years later. I booked Mighty Ducks, finished filming it. It hasn't even, like, nobody even knew about it at the time. Didn't come out. And he was filming some other movie on the Upper West Side in Manhattan for some reason at some point was like a huge, like, movie industry area. And, like, where I lived on 106th, like near West End Avenue, and that area was just like filled with people filming movies. I've seen Robin Williams filming Cadillac Man. I saw Gary Oldman filming some other Romeo Was Bleeding. Like I've seen so many actors. So like when I saw him, I was like, oh, Anthony, I I just did a movie. The stuff you gave me, like it worked. And he was like, that's great, kid. And then he went, I was like,
Nice.
I was going to like take me to lunch or something. You know?
He's busy. He's Anthony LaPaglia. He's busy.
Anthony LaPaglia, you know? He's on like some top show now. That's when you know you've made it, you know? When you are on a Law and Order or some serial, Dick Wolf show. When you've done that and you're doing it as a character, you've made it. You just kind of go, fuck this. I'm just going to collect a check now. I'm done.
Yeah, isn't that called mailbox money? Like every time you go to the mailbox?
Yeah, mailbox. That's definitely mailbox money, because forget about the money they get when they get paid. People don't even know the residuals. Like, I get decent residuals still from the Ducks and Heavyweights. Not great, but like I still get decent residuals. And I think to myself, or Gossip Girl, when I did Gossip Girl, that's a syndicated show. So I think to myself, the actors who are under contract, who are making $40,000-$50,000 an episode, and then on top of that, they're getting contract player residuals. Man, the adult, and I didn't even think about it at the time. I go, these people are making probably over $100,000 a year just by sitting at home. It's like, you don't even think about that. Like, that's pretty. It's a good business if you can do it. Yeah. So sorry. I went off. You asked me.
No, dude. Hey, no, don't even. I don't even know. I don't even need to tell your story anymore. I think just that in general is fucking cool to think about. That
I can tell you stories from when I was older, not older, but like when I did Gossip Girl, there was some stuff that was crazy that happened, and there was I should tell this story. I don't know if I should.
I fucking have to.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. I don't know if anybody's gonna get angry at me, but I don't care anymore, honestly. I did Gossip Girl. So all these TV shows, most TV shows, with the exception of a few that are really controlled by a certain director or showrunner, directors come in and out. You know, the movies are a director's medium and TV is a writer's medium. So the writers are the showrunners, and they're the ones who control TV pretty much. They're the directors, so to speak, the Scorseses of the TV show. So the directors just come and go. They're like, their agents submit them for a show, and then they get picked to do a show, and they get rotated to different shows. And a lot of actors do this when they want to become directors. They'll start doing commercials, and then they'll start going on this little campaign of directing different shows. And, you know, the show already has its kind of like structure. So the people who are filming it are going to keep it looking the same way. But the director comes in and kind of like, you know, it's like a crash course in directing sometimes. And then there are also professional TV directors who come in and make it even better. So a lot of actors will do this. And there was an actor that directed an episode of Gossip Girl. My character in Gossip Girl was a Russian doorman who was very like Don Nazi, slapsticky, goofy, you know, pure and nice. You know, most Russian characters that I played after that were all like, I'm going to kill your parents. But this guy was just like, you know, very happy and go lucky. And the character was slapsticky, and they wrote this character to have like lines that were really slapsticky. And this director comes and does these, you know, he comes in and this well-known actor comes in and he directs a lot of the episode. And then when it comes time for like my little like comic punch in it, which I love doing, and I love that they wrote it like that, he changed it up. He was like, that's not how they wrote it. And I'm like, okay, how, you know, director, I'm not gonna, you know, it's Gossip Girl, I'm making good money, I'm on the freaking Silver Cup Studios set with a bunch of famous people. I'm like, okay, what would you like me, how should I do it, you know? And he gives me this dry read and I was like, I don't think that is how they wrote it. and he like comes up, and he was, man, I'm not gonna say it now who it was, but he was coked up for sure.
Okay.
You know, I dabbled back in the day with a little cocaine, and I'll tell you right now, this man was chewing his face off. He comes over to me and he whispers to me, he goes, don't fucking tell me how they wrote it. On business. And I'm like, what the hell is, like, are the cameras like filming me right now? What's happening? And I was like, I've been in it since I was like 6. Well, it doesn't show. All right, let's go. And I was like, oh my, I'm already nervous on this set all the time. I'm always nervous on set. And this was like heart-wrenching. And so that's a story that I haven't told anybody. And yeah, this shit happens way more than you would imagine, especially coming up in the business.
So I have a question on that. You don't have to say names.
Yeah.
But has anything happened to that person where you're like, yeah, fuck that dude? Like, has anything?
No, he looks like shit now. So
okay, okay. So I guess the coke caught up with him.
Coke caught up with him. You know, he's got to start. No running marathons for that guy.
Talk to us about what are some things that you learned in acting that kind of maybe carry over into like fitness and working out, and what are some things you learned in fitness that maybe carried over to acting?
Work, straight up, like, you know, artists, our default is to like feel it or to like enjoy the feeling. And I think that's most people, you know, you want to enjoy the feeling. So like when I learned guitar, or I was trying to learn guitar, I just wanted to play songs all the time. I didn't want to do like the, you know, the notes or learn the rudiments and drums. Like you never want to do that, but you have to do it. I think it taught me the habit of, you know, putting the work in and then getting the enjoyment afterwards. And it became synonymous kind of after a while with the enjoyment, you know. It kind of like forced my brain to go, okay, this work that I'm putting in is going to create this enjoyment. So it became this like, it created a really good habit pattern, I think. You know, it kept me from procrastinating, even though after this pandemic, dude, I'm like a professional procrastinator now. I haven't even started that I'm telling people I finished, kind of thing, you know? But yeah, like I think both sides did the same thing. You know, working out also taught me to, I did jujitsu for a while and I want to get back into it. But it taught me, you know, when I did jujitsu to kind of take a step back and kind of breathe, even though the fucking world's on fire, you're about to get choked out. Your body's, you know, your fight or flight is like shoved at you. You're like about to die and you're being choked out, and you have to like kind of go, all right, how can I get out of this? Where can I like make my move? What can I, you know, and like that mentality, being able to do that in life, you know, if you do that often enough, it becomes a practice in life. So like, you know, shit can hit the fan and your, you know, psyche will kind of like automatically default to, all right, well, let's take a look at this. How can I, you know? And so I think that kind of helped. Well, when I was doing it, it helped get me through a lot of things. Now I haven't done it in a while, so I'm back to panicking. Yeah.
Well, that's a good kind of segue as well. Like what are you fearful about? Like what's your target for Austin? It doesn't sound like you've, you know, even really thought about training. Like what are you fearful about getting back into running while you train?
I mean, I'm fearful of injuring myself. You know, I mean, I'm not as flexible. I haven't ran enough. My body's resilient though. I'm just fearful that I don't feel 40 and I'm going to be 40 at the time. I just don't feel maturity wise or, you know, emotionally, you know, and physically, I just don't feel 40, but the only thing I'm really worried about is that my 40-year-old body is going to say, no, you can't do this, you know, but I mean, that's just a fear and I'm just going to push through it. I'm excited. I think I'm excited to train. I'm excited to have a reason to train, to like, you know, kind of push me past my current procrastination status. Yeah.
If Tom Brady's shitty offensive line can let all these defenders fall on top of him at his age, I think you're going to be fine. I hope that your body holds up during this marathon, bro.
You're not be in the same category as Tom Brady, dude.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you and Brady.
Oh, please. Unless it has to do with Giselle Bundchen. You can put me in that category any day. But otherwise, no. That man's somebody's blessed him. He was blessed since he was born, for sure. And he just took it and he wrote it. I'm a worker. I just work my ass off. So, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, dude.
I have one final question for you that we might have to go a little bit deep on this because I feel like there's going to be a deep answer from you.
God, let me get some tissues.
I'm hoping that you haven't been asked this before because I'm like, that's a fucking good question. But so let's just get into it before I build it up.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, you go for your ultimate role. You get it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know it's going to be killer. It's something you've been working on forever. They say to you, Aaron, you've got it, but you got to put on about 30 pounds for it.
Easy.
Would you do it? You would?
Fuck yeah.
Okay. Just because
Exciting to me.
Okay.
I get to eat shit that I want to eat all the time.
But you have to admit there'd be something there.
I mean, it's definitely gonna suck. I don't bounce back anymore, and I have an Eastern European body, so for me to stay fit, it's a little extra hard. And so if I put pounds on, that skin might not bounce back.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'd still do it. Fuck it. I'll go to a plastic surgeon after if I'm nasty looking human being. I'll just fix it up. No, I would never go to a plastic surgeon. I would never do that.
I'm about to play therapist for a minute. Do you know what your answer means?
It means that, yes, kind of.
Okay.
I took psychology in college.
Okay. I pretend to be one in a podcast, so nice. That's kind of close.
It means that I'm needing acceptance from the public. I need acceptance, or is that
no? That was just you. That's you. No, I was gonna say that you care more about acting than you do about fitness.
100%.
Okay, so there you go. So that's what I'm saying.
I'm not gonna do memento shit and get super skinny and then get super fat. I mean,
right.
The balance to it. If the next role is gonna be me, all of a sudden losing 80 pounds, I'm gonna say no to it. I'm gonna say I lose 30 pounds, but all within the realm of health. I think for myself, at least, I'm not gonna hurt myself. I'm not gonna Matthew McConaughey myself and look. Matthew McConaughey was such a good-looking dude, and could still be, but I don't know what, I think he fucked himself up. I really do.
Maybe.
I mean, I think him and what's his name?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
Mm-hmm.
They're both fantastic actors, and I'm obsessed with their growth as actors. And who cares? Christian Bale probably he seems like he's a dick in real life. Who cares? He's phenomenal, and so is Matthew McConaughey, but they've done something to their body by doing all these roles that I think is irreversible. It looks like on both of their faces that it's irreversible, and I would never do that. No.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Follow up. Role of the lifetime, gain 30 pounds, coked up director as the director. Do you do it?
Am I the lead?
You're the lead.
So coked up director has to answer to me now.
Okay, I don't know how it works on a set.
Hey, buddy, guess what?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, guess my bad choices got me somewhere. Let's get you a beer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, Aaron, always appreciate you, man. Love catching up with you and hearing your story. And, it's always hard to kind of leave the conversation because there's so much to what you've been through in the past, 25, 30 years as an actor, and to, how you change yourself.
Part 3, part 4. Let's keep on going.
Yeah, we'll keep going.
Yeah. Exactly. So where can people find you online?
Instagram, Twitter. I have a Facebook account.
Don't even worry about that.
Account. Yeah, don't even think. Yeah.
We don't have anybody. We don't have anybody over the age of 50 that's going to check Facebook, so we're okay. Oh, you got TikTok too?
No, but I hear making. Maybe I should start one.
Yeah,
they're millionaires. So all Instagram and Twitter, Aaron Schwartz 11. So my full name with 11 after it. You can find me there. I have a website going up pretty soon, and it will have it's basically more for appearances and stuff, for the Ducks going to do signings and heavyweight signings, stuff like that. But I have a website coming up, and it's going to have all links and acting stuff and all that. So that's going to be coming up pretty soon. So it's not up yet, but when it's up, I'll let everybody know.
Nice.
Definitely Instagram. Instagram's the way to see me. Yeah.
We'll add that all to the article when we're done all this.
Sounds good.
All right, Aaron, thanks, man. We really appreciate it, and we'd love to have you on again. How about after the marathon?
Oh shit! What just happened?
Nothing. I got you. Still there?
Okay.
You got me?
Yeah, I got you. Sorry.
After the marathon, we have you back on.
Sounds good.
Cool.
I'm there.
Awesome, dude.
Don't see me crying.
Thanks, man.
And that brings another episode of We Run This to a close. Nick and I want to thank everybody for listening. If you love the podcast, please share it with friends or leave a review on iTunes. And remember to follow Nick and I on social media. He's at It's Nick Domingo, and I'm at Chris Illuminati on Twitter. Or follow us both on Instagram at WeRunThis_pod. Until next time, see everybody out there.